Hello, and welcome to Chapter 11, Windows Versions and Customer Service. Now we're getting into the software version, and then we're going to talk about how to deal with customers. All right, as a reminder again, I'm going to ask you to take notes, so don't forget to do that and upload them as homework. Okay, so what is an operating system? Let's start by explaining what that is. So please write the following down because you're probably going to be asked somewhere to describe what an operating system is. An operating system is the interface between the hardware, the software, and the user. Okay, so that's a quick one-sentence explanation of what an OS is. The latest operating system that Microsoft has is Windows 10, of course. You probably know that already. We'll probably also have the 8.1 that's still out there. The 7 is probably still out there, but no, Microsoft no longer supports that. So if they don't longer support it, you won't be able to call or get anywhere with any help with them, any help for any Windows 7 issues. So it's probably a good idea to upgrade to 10. That's the best way to go. All right, Windows, let's talk about the Windows interface, Windows 10 interface specifically. You got the navigation. I got Windows 10. So the navigation area right here. So this is on the right side. This is where your navigation is going to be on the right-hand side. Windows 10 search box with Corona. That's the search box right here. Okay, so you can type whatever you want, or you can talk to it if you want to using the Cortana. All right, if you right-click on the Start menu, this is a good idea to write this down. If you right-click on the Windows menu, you get, excuse me, you are going to get the most, you're going to access the most Windows support tools. This is probably the best way to go. And you can do that also, by the way, by pressing the Windows key and the letter X. You'll get the same thing. All right, so Windows key or right-click on the Start menu. That's a good idea. That's a good thing to do. Now, let's do that again. Windows X. If you go to Settings, where's the Settings here? Down here. So on the Settings, you can change Windows settings. You can do a whole bunch of other stuff. This is a place where you're probably going to go more often when you are a quick way of accessing the settings when you are going to be a help desk or anything of that effect in troubleshooting your operating system. All right. There's also the, let me just leave that up. There is the apps and features. For example, if you have something that you need to install, such as which you don't have, you have Windows Professional and you need Hyper-V or the Hyper-V, you're going to get in here and install it from apps and features. Okay, so you can include it in here if you wanted. There is the, another one that you may want to think of is the system right here. So you can click on the system and you can get the system security details. You can find out exactly where your system and how much, for example, well, about the system itself. So I have an 8 gig of RAM. This is my device product, device ID, product ID, right? How much memory you have, the CPU that you got, all right? You got the Windows PowerShell, which we're not going to do a lot with, but we'll cover that later on. You got the PowerShell in here with the admin. This is, PowerShell is really a fancy version of the command prompt that allows you to do everything that you could do in the GUI version of the operating system, plus more. But you do it in command prompt, and you can create scripts with the PowerShell as well. All right, so now we'll talk about Windows 10 features. There's the Action Center. That's the Action Center right here. This is the Action Center, all right? So I can download the brightness. So this way you don't, actually I should have done that a while back. You can check your PC setup and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do. You can clear all the notifications, which is up here if you wanted to. You can turn on and off any of these apps. All right. What else do you need to know? The Cortana we talked about. Choose Windows the edition. Choosing a Windows edition. So let's just move on in our chapter a little bit. So that's that. Talked about that. We can open up an app by typing app, and you can type Notepad, for example. If you go to run, type Notepad, you'll be able to execute that application automatically. All right, Windows features, we talked about that. Moving forward. Okay, you guys are probably familiar with a lot of the stuff. Now, let's say, which edition should you get? Should you get Windows 10, Windows 8.1, or Windows 7? Well, what you should know is the home edition. The home editions for Windows are intended for laptops and desktop computers in a home or a small office environment. Pro, enterprise, or education editions are designed for work and large organization enterprises. Enterprise editions allows for volume licensing. Education editions are less expensive editions for those who can prove they qualify for the educational discounts. Typically, if you have a .edu email, you probably qualify. Windows 8.1 and Windows 7 also are in there. Just remember, Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft. All right, so that's something that you probably want to think about and probably upgrade if you do have it. All right, so moving on. Excuse me. I have to talk about the Windows Explorer. I think we're all familiar on how to get Windows Explorer, copy files, move files. Directories are another name for folders. What else do you need to know? That's pretty straightforward. I think we don't have to get into that. What else do you need to know? Let's just creating a folder. You just right click on new folder, create a file, copy, move, rename, delete files. Everyone should be able. And if you're not familiar with any of this, for God's sake, just let me know and we'll go over it. All right, the control panel. You need to know. The control panel is a place. All you have to do is just go in here and type control panel. And bingo. When you get into the control panel, you'll be able to uninstall programs, check your devices, and system and security if you need to go there. If you're worried about your hardware and sound, you get in here, and so on. All right. Add users and names and accounts. You go right in here. Okay, so so that's that. What else do you need to know? Okay, power options. We'll cover that later on. So a couple of things you should need to know. Domain access before we get into our power options. You can have domain access to if the computer connects to a corporate or educational network to access the resources. Bitlocker, please write the following down. Bitlocker encrypts the entire volume on the hard drive to protect the data and can provide full hard drive encryption. Remember, you gotta have the TMP chip on the motherboard for that. Or Windows 10 also offers you the encryption file system, the EFS. It can encrypt files and folders to protect the data. There's something called the branched cache, which optimizes content access over a wide area network by retrieving the content from the remote servers and cache that into a local server for better access. There's Media Center in Windows 7 and Windows 8. That's no longer available for Windows 10. That's good to know. I told you about how to access these features. Either right-click on the Start menu or the Win key plus the X, right? If you have something that is the path, C, data, Windows, all of that, we'll discuss later on. So you know everything about the folders and the files and where those files are located. All right, let's talk about power options. There is this two power options that you should be familiar with. There is the sleep mode and the hibernation. So your computer, when it goes into sleep mode, sometimes we call that standby. This is if you're on a laptop, you want to save battery, of course. So in a standby mode or sleep mode, You save power when you are not using your computer. So if the applications are open or other work is in progress, Windows will first save the current state, including open files to memory, and save some of the work to the hard drive. Then everything is shut down, except for the memory and enough of the system to respond when you need to wake it up. All right. Hibernation, on the other hand, is when you save all your work to the hard drive and power down the system. You press the power on button, then Windows reloads its states, including all the open applications and documents. When Windows in sleep mode on a laptop and senses the battery is critically low, it will put the system into hibernation automatically. Okay, so that's important to know. How Windows controlled access to network resources. So let's talk about that. Where are we? So we talked about the 64-bit network operating system. We'll discuss, by the way, 32, 64-bit. What do you need to install on the next chapter? So we'll cover that in more details on the next chapter. The system information center. So if you need to know how much memory, so just type system information on your computer, and it will tell you all the goodies that you need to know about the system and what it has. Right. So in my case, I have how much 8 gigs of RAM. I have a whole bunch of Dell. It's a Dell computer. I have i7 CPU, x64-bit, right? So all of that information you can get from here. All right, so continuing on. Windows setting an application. I mean, I don't think that's pretty hard to do. We go to the system, devices. We need to know that. The Action Center. We discussed that already. All right. So now we get into Windows, Workgroup, and Homegroup. And what's the difference between them? So let me see here. Okay.